Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here, and as you see now that my OBS is not blocking it, we have a Cinderace retest in the SSOU metagame. I know there's a lot to take in. We're going to be going through it all in this video. It's a little special extra metagame Monday content for y'all, though technically it's being posted midnight Tuesday morning, but you know how it is. I got the inside scoop on these things because I'm a counsel, and I actually wrote up the OP for this, but basically we had to retest Cinderace. For those of you that might be recalling, we quick banned it on the condition that it would be retested prior to DLC 2. Basically, this gives us a chance for voters to give it a fair shake in the current metagame when it was clearly something that was contributing to a lot of problems before, but now the metagame settled down a little bit. I mean, it's still a little hectic, but we had to retest before DLC 2, and now's a great time. Personally, I think that a suspect on Urshifu, and to a bit lesser extent Toxapex, would also be warranted, and definitely not closing the book on those. I'm going to continue to bring up my points, make my posts, etc., because personally, I think the metagame does have some problems, but there's also some bright spots. I think we're seeing more balanced teams, a lot more than, say, Hyper Offense and Stall being spammed, which at least is a certain step in the right direction, but I still think that there are some things to be done, and one of those things is the Cinderace retest. Now, I know a lot of you guys are saying, like, oh no, I wanted Toxapex to be handled first, and yeah, I understand to an extent, I resonate, but I do think with balance being used a bit more than Hyper Offense, at least there are a lot more things that can kind of check and nullify the effectiveness of Toxapex, and that's why I made the video I did for Metagame Monday on many ways to abuse Toxapex, so definitely check that out. But I also think that the door should be closed on that, or Urshifu, which is just a one-man wrecking ball, or one-bear wrecking ball, rather. It's just absolutely destroying things left and right, so yeah, definitely going to see where things go for them, but regardless, the metagame is okay, but not great right now, in my honest opinion, and we'll have to see where it goes from there, but right now, definitely the right time for the Cinderace retest. So we're going to go ahead and go into some logistics because some things are changing, etc. First and foremost, we're using the song Fireball by Deep Purple. So thank you to my friend TPP or Team Pokepalace for recommending that. But anyway, hey everyone, the OU Cheering Council has decided to retest Cinderace. Suspect reasoning, basically it was initially quick banned, SSU proving that it was consistently problematic in the metagame. After a month and change of post-Cinderace and Megurna adjustments, including a lot of recent metagame shifts, we're decided that now is the best time to give it a retest. Fair to have it that way, basically. Please note that a retest does not make it official additional year tier, so it might not necessarily be allowed in tournaments like Smogon Snake Draft, their official ladder tournament playoffs, but it's still going to be on the ladder, and that's really cool because we're going to get the test on it, and there's going to be more on the ladder later. I don't have an adequate vote, so we'll be retesting Cinderace on the OU ladder for the next 2 weeks. Much like any other suspect test, Cinderace has a large impact on the metagame ever since it got Libero. So Libero, it's basically a protein clone. It makes so that if you use Pyro Ball, you're a fire type like normal, but if you use a coverage move like Gunk Shot, poison type. Zen Headbutt, psychic type. U-turn, bug type, etc. Sucker Punch, you know, makes you dark, and Bulk makes you a fighting type, and I guess High Jump Kick makes you a fighting type as well, although that's kind of fallen out of favor, but yeah. It was released just before Isle of Armor, and then we had a survey after the initial round of World Cup for Pokemon, and a lot of people were like, wow, Cinderace is pretty damn good. It's probably a bit much for the tiers. We're like, you know what, we're going to give it the same treatment we did in Melmetal, where we banned it because we believed it was a bit too much, and then let the metagame settle, which was the case with Pokemon Home, but this time it's with DLC, and just things like OLT being right around the corner and happening. And now the metagame settled again, we're finally giving it a fair retest, and I'm really interested to see how it pans out. Personally, I'm just going to say right now, I'm leaning towards Pro Ban, but I'm actually very open-minded right now. I talked to Joey and some other people, and I think it's best that we kind of give it a fair chance, because right now Cinderace has a lot of tools that can help maybe deter from some of the more problematic aspects of the tier. Like, for example, it's an offensive Pokemon that's faster than Urshifu, and it can potentially revenge kill it. Alternatively, though, with like Bulk Up plus Zen Headbutt, or even Zen Head with the Adamant Nature, you could even potentially force out things like Toxapex or Intuit Killing on the Switch, which can go a long way towards deterring that, and it can completely change the dynamic of how things are done. So I'm interested to see what people think of it. Of course, we shouldn't just keep it in the tier to deter those things if it's broken itself, so we also have to see if certain counters like Hippowdon, Rhyperior, etc. are common enough and warranting enough counterplay for it to be safe in the tier. Personally, I don't think so. That's kind of why I'm leaning towards no ban, but I'm definitely going to use it a lot on the suspect ladder. I'm going to try and upload it most, if not all of that laddering on this channel. So yeah, definitely really excited for that. But anyway, ultimately we concluded that banning Cinderace for the time being made sense because the rapid change state of the metagame, so long as we met the condition of retesting Cinderace in the future. So yeah, we are unanimous in thinking Cinderace was broken in that metagame, but we also realized that the metagame will be rapidly changing with OLT and the banning of Megurna, which also can change the way Pokemon might adapt to Cinderace, and therefore we want to give it a retest once that adaptation happened, and this is that, basically. So yeah, as it says, this retest gives players who achieve voting requisites a chance to fully examine Cindrace's place in the metagame. they will be able to determine if Cinderace is ban-worthy or not with this information. So yeah, and then there's a ton of discussion on Cinderace. Cinderace is a potent physical attacker with access to Libero, a variety of strong moves, win over them, Pyro Ball, Gong Shot, the two strong ones, then Headbutt for Talk Specs, Como O, even some other water types as well. U-Turn for momentum and helping chip down things like Powdon, Rhyperior, Mandibuzz, etc. Slowbro, yeah. You can run Sucker Punch for Dragapult, Bulk Up, as well for potential sweeping prospects, and with its impressive attack and speed stats, Cinderace is able to make use of these moves in conjunction with Libero to be one of the most threatening offensive presences we have seen all generation. It is indeed quite frail though. Cinderace does not have the best base HP or defenses, and it also is a mono fire typing, which is not great defensively. However, it does have access to heavy duty boots, and Libero can help change its typing so it can potentially find its way out of otherwise problematic defensive situations. You also find it partnered a lot of times with U-Turn, Volt Switch, and or Teleport, and those moves help it get in safely, and seeing as it's quite fast, it's able to outrun things and not necessarily take as many hits as it otherwise would. Therefore, despite being a relatively frail Pokemon, it's still quite accessible. With that said though, it still is reliant a lot on prediction to break things like Toxapex, Slowbro, Gastrodon, and even Urshifu Rapid Strike, especially because these Pokemon don't threaten it, especially Urshifu Rapid Strike with Aqua Jet potentially even killing it. And while Zen Headbutt can do a lot of damage to those Pokemon in U-Turn for Slowbro or even Gastrodon, chipping quite a bit, it's still not necessarily a foolproof scenario, and you got to be very careful with how you play it. Of course, then there are ground types like Rhyperior and Powdon, which we alluded to before, which can not only withstand anything that Cinderace has to throw at it, but in addition to that, they could also do a lot of damage in return with an Earthquake, or Rhyperior, just any move really. So yeah, knockoff is also huge, as if you get a knockoff from Toxapex, or Ferrothorn, or Tangrowth, or whatever it might be, all of a sudden Cinderace's longevity is drastically diminished. So that goes a long way towards minimizing it if you take Stealth Rock every single time. Because if you're taking 25% damage every single time you enter, then that's no bueno, guys. Anyway, finally, Cinderace relies on moves with potential drawbacks such as Pyro Ball accuracy, Gong Shot accuracy, even Zen Headbutt accuracy. They do have secondary effects that can also come into play. Pyro Ball seems to always be burning, and Gong Shot can poison things like Mandibuzz and Powdon on a switch in, which can go a long way. But again, it's kind of hit or miss, and that is something that's worth noting as well. Given how fragile Cinderace is, a single misfire can lead to it being permanently crippled or even taken out prematurely, and that is a very important point, and that's happened in a lot of games. Definitely keep that in mind. Anyway, Cinderace is most definitely not an unstoppable force in the metagame, and giving it a fair retest is kind of a priority right now, as it's just, it's the right time to do so, as I outlined before. However, it's still a very strong and fast Pokemon with unmatched profile that oftentimes allows it to break down defensive cores and let games play out kind of in a different way. Especially over time, as again, it gets in, incrementally chips things, like for example, Zen Headbutt doing 55 to your Toxapex to take Stealth Rock, and it comes back in later on and takes 55 again the next time. It's like, okay, but after a generator, it's still like a little bit, but then it's Tukio, and it's like, okay. You gotta work for it, is basically what I'm saying. But anyway, with that said, there are those things that potentially check or counter it, especially if it has the right set, or the wrong set for the occasion rather. So yeah, this thread is going to be used to just focus on the suspect metagame and nothing else. So the suspect thread, if you want to post on Smogon, definitely check out that thread. It's not quite posted. I have a PM with a draft of this thread that I'm going off of right now. But anyway, there's one thing that I really want to key in on. For those of you guys that want to get Rex, I know Rex are pretty hard for some of you guys, and there's nothing wrong with that. Getting a GXC of over 80 is a challenge, let alone one of over 82 where it previously lied out. However, we're making it easier, or well, we're rewarding people who are high achievers, but also we're catering to people who might take more games and end up with a slightly lower GXC. So here we have a scaled system. So first off, shout out to UU, the UU Council, and the UU Tier Leadership. All of them were the ones that initially implemented this system for their tier, and now we're taking it and we're stealing it for OU. So let's just go into it. It's new for SSU suspects. So reading this is mandatory for participating in the suspect test. The voting requirements are a minimum GXC of 80 with at least 50 games played. In addition, you may play one less game for every 0.2 GXC you have above 80 GXC, down to a minimum of 30 games at 84 GXC. In addition, needing more than 50 games to reach GXC, 80 GXC also, so I gotta remove the in additions. I've got two of them. Let me fix this real quick. Hold the phone, guys. In addition, and I'm gonna write also. Yeah, I'm gonna write also instead of, I don't like repetition like that. Also, yeah, also is fine. It doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna. It seems excessive. Okay, sorry. I don't like having unnecessary fluff in my posts. I like getting to the point. So, yeah. Anyway, so for example, let's say I have a GXC of 80.2, and I'm 40 and 8. that's going to get you Rex, or 40 and 9 rather. That'll get you Rex with 82 because that'll be 49 games in. However, if my GXC is 80 through 30 games, then I'm just going to have to say, okay, I need to maintain my GXC for 20 games or get up to 82 in 10 games or anything in between. So you see the scaled system. So if I'm at a GXC of 80 through 50 games, great. If I'm at a GXC of 83 through 35 games, great. If I'm at a GXC of 81.4 for 43 games, great. All of these work. Unfortunately, though, we're capping it at 80. So, for example, let's say I have 55 games. If my GXC through 55 games is going to be 79, that's not going to do it. You still got to hit 80. You can take 100 games to get to 80. You can take 1,000 games to get to 80, but you do have to hit a minimum of 80 GXC through 50 games or more to get there for that threshold. And otherwise, these all work as well. So it gets the best of both worlds. It gets the overachiever ladder gods that are going to be able to scale to a higher GXC and then some. So yeah. Anyway, what else do we have to say here? Yeah, OUTI is a prefix. You'll see this in the thread, laddering with an account that impersonates Mox off. The same normal rules. You got the total 27th of September that night to do it, and then there's just the normal rules in the suspect. So yeah, we're going to be testing Cinderace in the SSOU metagame, guys. It's a retest. Definitely let me know your thoughts on Cinderace. If you're going to comment about potentially wanting Toxapex or Urshifu to be suspect instead of Cinderace, this is the one time ever I'll say this. Don't comment. Don't bother. I'm personally in favor of both them being suspected, be it in the present or the future. I'm not going to argue with you guys when this timing was inevitable. This suspect had to happen. We can't do two things at once. And personally, I've been pitching for this ever since the start of OLT. I've had this ready for a couple days. I'm really excited about it. And we'll cross those bridges once this ends. So, hold your horses. Don't be a shithead. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you have anything appropriate to say anyway. And have a great day. Yeah. Alrighty. Peace out. Not going to talk your ears off. Yeah, Cinderace Retest. Alright, bye.